ask the musical question.
You know the opening snap of My Guy. You don't need to hear it right now, it's already playing in your head. That casual, finger-popping confidence. That voice. Warm, but knowing. Like she's already figured you out and decided to forgive you anyway. That record hit #1 in May of 1964. It stayed there for 2 weeks. It knocked the Beatles off the American charts. It sold over 1 million copies in months. You've heard it in films, in diners, in supermarkets, at weddings. It never stopped earning. The royalties from that song alone, from every sync license, every reissue, every streaming play, have generated money every single year since 1964. Mary Wells collected none of it. Not 1 cent. Because of a clause in a settlement agreement she signed when she was desperate, young, and didn't have a lawyer she could actually trust. The song plays on. She died broke. Before we talk about the money, and we are going to talk about the money, you need to understand where Mary Wells started. Because this story only works if you feel the distance between where she began and where she ended up. Detroit, 1943. Mary Esther Wells is born near Wayne State University to a mother who cleaned other people's houses and a father who wasn't there. She's one of 3 kids. The family doesn't have much. They make it work the way poor families always make it work, quietly, and without complaining too loud. But here's the thing about Mary that most people don't know. Before she ever had a hit record, before she ever set foot inside Motown, she was already fighting. When she was 2 years old, she contracted spinal meningitis. That's a brain infection, and it left her with temporary paralysis, partial blindness in one eye, hearing loss in one ear. She had to learn to walk again. As a toddler, she also contracted tuberculosis as a child. Not once, twice. We'll come back to that second time, because when it happens again, the circumstances are going to break your heart. By the time she's 12, Mary Wells is helping her mother clean other people's homes. She described it later in an interview. She said, and I'm paraphrasing here, day work they called it, and it was damn cold on hallway linoleum. Misery is Detroit linoleum in January, with a half-froze bucket of spick and span. That's not the image you carry of a future Motown queen, but that's who she was. And through all of it, the illness, the poverty, the cleaning jobs, she sang. She started in church at 3 or 4 years old. By 10, she was performing in local talent contests and clubs. By the time she hit high school, she was obsessed with a Detroit singer named Jackie Wilson. Studied his moves, learned his phrasing, dreamed of writing songs good enough for him to sing. She graduated from Northwestern High School at 17 with a plan. She'd written a song, a good song. She just needed to get it to the right person. That person turned out to be Berry Gordy. And here's where the story starts to get complicated. Because the night Mary Wells chased Berry Gordy across a nightclub parking lot to pitch him a song she'd written for someone else, that was the night everything changed for her. For better. And eventually, devastatingly, for worse. Hold on to that thought. We're not done with that night yet. It's 1960. Detroit's 20 Grand Club. Berry Gordy is there. He's 30 years old. He's got this little record operation running out of a house on West Grand Boulevard that he bought for $800. He calls it Hitsville, USA. Most people in the industry aren't paying attention yet. Mary Wells spots him. And instead of waiting for an introduction, instead of going through the proper channels, she chases him down. This 17-year-old girl, with her pleated skirt and her quiet speaking voice, corners one of Detroit's most connected music men and says, I have a song. You need to hear it. Gordy, exhausted, tells her to sing it right there, on the spot. She does. She didn't come to audition. She came to sell. But Gordy wasn't listening to the song. He was listening to her. And what he heard stopped him cold. According to Esther Gordy Edwards, Berry's sister and one of the early Motown executives, Berry told Mary she could sing it herself. Mary apparently said, and this detail gets me every time, "Oh, I can't sing." She could sing. After a reported 22 takes in the studio, Berry Gordy signed Mary Wells to his Motown subsidiary and released Bye Bye Baby in September 1960. It hit number 8 on the R&B chart. And that was just the beginning. What happened next is the part of this story that gets glossed over in the documentaries. Because the focus is always on the Supremes, on Marvin Gaye, on Stevie Wonder. But in those earliest years, before any of them had a hit, it was Mary Wells holding Motown up. Berry Gordy paired her with a young writer-producer named William "Smokey" Robinson. And together, they built the Motown sound. The One Who Really Loves You, Top 10 Pop, 1962. You Beat Me to the Punch, Top 10 Pop, 1962. Two Lovers, Top 10 Pop, 1962. My Guy, Number 1 Pop, 1964. 4 top 10 hits in less than 2 years. From a girl who'd been scrubbing floors 3 years earlier. By 1964, Motown sales chief Barney Ailes would later say, in 1964, Mary Wells was our big artist. I don't think there's any audience with an age of 30 through 50 that doesn't know the words to My Guy. That's a direct quote. That's not a biographer being generous. That's the man who sold the records telling you what he knew. And then, this is the detail that still floors me. The Beatles weighed in. The Beatles. At the peak of their own invasion of America, with teenagers losing their minds at every airport they landed in, John, Paul, George, and Ringo said publicly that Mary Wells was their favorite American singer. They called her their sweetheart. They invited her to tour the United Kingdom with them. She became the first Motown artist to perform in Britain. Let that land for a second. The biggest band in the world just told the world that the girl from Detroit, the one who'd been cleaning linoleum at 12, was the one they admired most. And she was still being paid like she was nobody. Here's what nobody tells you at the beginning of this story. That contract Mary Wells signed the night Berry Gordy fell in love with her voice. She was 17, still a minor, and there's no indication she had any legal representation at the time. She was a teenager who sang so well a man with a record label told her to sign on the dotted line. She signed. And in signing, she handed over more than most people realize. She handed over her catalog, her royalties, her creative control, her future earning power from every record she made at Motown. All of it locked into the terms a 17-year-old agreed to because she was excited and young and she just wanted to make music. Now, here's the detail that should make you angry. By 1964, My Guy is at number 1. It's Motown's first number 1 pop single ever. Not just for Mary Wells, for the entire label. She did that. She got them there. And what is she hearing from people inside the building? She's hearing that the money from My Guy, her record, her voice, her milestone, is being redirected, funneled toward a new act Berry Gordy was developing. A little group called the Supremes. Mary Wells, according to multiple accounts including Peter Benjaminson's biography Mary Wells, The Tumultuous Life of Motown's First Superstar, was furious. She felt she'd earned her seat at the table. She'd paid dues nobody was acknowledging. And now at the very moment she'd delivered Motown its biggest commercial achievement, she was watching her earnings get redirected toward her own replacement. So she did something that, in 1964, was almost unheard of for a black female artist. She decided to fight. Her then-husband, songwriter Herman Griffin, encouraged her to sue Motown. She filed suit. The argument was simple and it was devastating. The contract she'd signed at 17 was invalid. She'd been a minor. She couldn't legally be bound to it. She won. Berry Gordy was reportedly stunned. He made offers to keep her. According to Peter Benjaminson's biography, Gordy offered her a 50% stake in the company. 50%. In what would eventually become one of the most valuable music companies in American history. She turned it down. She walked away with a flat settlement of $30,000 and her freedom. And here's the part that sealed her fate financially. As a condition of her release, Mary Wells agreed that she would receive no royalties from any of her past recordings. None. Not from My Guy. Not from Two Lovers. Not from any of it. She also could not use her own likeness to promote her new work without Motown's approval. She thought she was getting her life back. What she was actually doing was signing away the income stream that would have sustained her for the next 30 years. Think about what $30,000 means against the catalog of a woman whose records Motown kept selling and kept licensing for decades after she left. We don't have exact figures. But when Mary Wells later brought a multi-million-dollar lawsuit against Motown in 1991, she claimed they owed her $10 million. the equivalent of roughly 18 million in today's money, according to the New World's profile of her story. The settlement she got in 1964 was 30,000. The math is brutal, and nobody made her do it. But she was 21 years old. She was angry. She was sick. That tuberculosis came back during this period and left her bedridden, and she was surrounded by people telling her the grass was greener somewhere else. It wasn't. Let me stop here for a second and speak directly to you, because I want you to understand something that gets lost when we talk about Motown in the nostalgic, feel-good way the label has been packaged ever since. Motown wasn't just a record label. It was a machine. And machines don't grieve when a part is replaced. They find a new part and keep running. When Mary Wells left, Berry Gordy found his new part. Diana Ross, the Supremes, and with the full promotional force of Motown behind them, the same promotional force that had been behind Mary Wells, they became icons. Here's the uncomfortable question nobody likes to ask. Would the Supremes have had the same launch without the commercial blueprint Mary Wells established? Would radio stations and white pop audiences have been as open to Motown sound if Mary Wells hadn't already been breaking down those doors for 2 years? We can't know for certain. But the people who were there, the ones who actually watched it happen, have been pretty clear about what Mary Wells represented. Former Motown producers and session musicians have noted over the years that the Funk Brothers, the incredible house band that played on virtually every Motown record, was so locked in by 1964 that almost anyone could have sounded great over those tracks. In the 2002 documentary Standing in the Shadows of Motown, producer and drummer Steve Gordon said something that stayed with me. He said, "When these cats cut tracks, really, no offense to any of the great artists that sang on them, but anybody could have sung on them. You could have had Deputy Dog sing on some of this stuff and it would have been a hit because the tracks were just so incredible." Now, that's a complicated quote, because it cuts both ways. On one hand, it explains why Mary Wells, once she was separated from that machine, couldn't replicate her success. She signed with 20th Century Fox. The money was there, $200,000 upfront, according to multiple sources. The promises were big. Movies, albums, a new chapter. But the machine wasn't there. The Funk Brothers weren't there. Smokey Robinson wasn't picking up the phone to write her next hit. And the promotional muscle that had put My Guy into every radio station in America? Gone. Her first 20th Century Fox album flopped. A Beatles tribute album, which should have been brilliant given that the Beatles literally told the world she was their favorite American singer, failed to chart. And then there were the rumors. Multiple accounts, including Peter Benjaminson's biography and sources cited in a profile by Pop Matters, suggest that Motown may have quietly pressured radio stations not to play Mary Wells' new material. It was never proven. Motown denied it, but the pattern was consistent enough that her own contemporaries noticed it. Diana Ross, the Supremes, Martha and the Vandellas, Stevie Wonder. The machine moved on, louder, bigger, more polished than ever. And Mary Wells spent the next 25 years touring clubs and oldies reviews, working constantly just to cover her bills. The machine didn't miss her, but she was gone, and she knew it. I want to take a moment here, right in the middle of this story, and bring something back. Remember what I said in the opening? The royalties from My Guy alone have generated money every single year since 1964. Every film sync, every commercial, every streaming play. Every time someone puts it in a playlist, every time a bride walks down an aisle to that finger snap, that money was out there. It was real. It was accumulating. And none of it was going to Mary Wells. Instead, she was out on the road, playing smaller venues, smaller cities, living on the appearance fees from audiences who remembered her, but couldn't quite place why her name sounded familiar. The woman who once opened for the Beatles on a UK tour, who once knocked them off the American charts, was now performing at oldies shows where she was billed somewhere in the middle of the lineup. Her manager Thomas Beans Bowles was direct about this in interviews. He said, simply, she didn't make a dime off of it. That's her manager. That's the person whose job it was to look after her interests. She married twice, had 4 children, 3 with singer Cecil Womack and 1 with his brother Curtis Womack. The marriages didn't last. The money stayed tight. She kept working because stopping meant losing everything. And through all of it, there was this strange, painful irony playing in the background. Motown kept using her name, kept putting her face on compilation albums, kept licensing My Guy to films and TV shows and commercials. The song that earned her nothing in royalties kept making money for the people who held the copyright. In 1991, 27 years after she left the label, Mary Wells had finally had enough. She filed a multi-million-dollar lawsuit against Motown. The suit alleged she had not received royalties she was owed upon leaving in 1964, and that Motown had failed to properly promote her recordings, effectively letting them earn money without her knowledge or compensation. Motown settled the lawsuit. The settlement amount was in the six figures, against a claim of $10 million, against 27 years of watching her voice earn money for other people. But here's what makes the timing of that lawsuit almost unbearable. By the time Mary Wells was fighting Motown in court in 1991, she wasn't fighting from a position of power. She was fighting while dying. In 1990, doctors discovered she had cancer of the larynx. The thing that made her her, that warm, knowing, conversational voice, cancer had found it first. She was a 2-pack-a-day smoker, according to multiple sources, and the diagnosis was devastating. Surgery, treatment, the possibility that she might never sing again. And she had no health insurance. None. The woman who gave Motown its first #1 record had no health coverage. She was selling her house to pay for treatment. Her medical bills were becoming impossible. That's where this story turns from sad to something else entirely. Because what happened next is either the most beautiful thing about the music community or the most damning indictment of the industry that created this situation in the first place. Depending on how you look at it, it's both. Bruce Springsteen, Bonnie Raitt, Elton John, Rod Stewart, Diana Ross, Mary Wilson, Martha Reeves. They all showed up, not with thoughts and prayers, not with statements, with money. According to multiple published reports, including the Associated Press obituary published at the time of her death and a profile on the Oral Cancer Foundation's website, these artists collectively raised approximately $150,000 for Mary Wells' medical bills and living expenses. Rock musicians, pop musicians, former label mates, people who understood what she'd done for music even if the business had spent decades pretending otherwise. Diana Ross, who, remember, had her own complicated history with Motown's financial practices, wrote a check. Mary Wilson and Martha Reeves, who knew exactly what it meant to be a black female artist on the Motown roster, were there. Bruce Springsteen contributed. He'd covered You Beat Me to the punch in live shows. He knew the catalog. He knew what it was worth. He showed up. And Berry Gordy? Accounts differ on this, which is itself telling. According to the New World profile of Mary Wells, Gordy contributed £25,000, roughly $32,000 at the time. Other accounts suggest he eventually paid more, possibly as much as $1 million toward her care and funeral costs, according to one version of events. But Mary Wells herself, right up until the end, maintained that he owed her $10 million. She never stopped saying that. What we know for certain, the fundraising effort covered her medical bills. It bought her more time. It allowed her to keep fighting. And she used that time well. In 1991, Mary Wells traveled to Washington, D.C. She testified before a congressional committee on funding for cancer research. This is a woman who could barely use her voice at this point, whose larynx had been ravaged by cancer. And she stood in front of the United States Congress and she said, "I'm here today to urge you to keep the faith. I can't cheer you on with all my voice, but I can encourage, and I pray to motivate you with all my heart and soul and whispers." Let that sit for a moment. The woman who knocked the Beatles off the American charts was whispering to Congress, asking them to care, using what was left of her voice, the voice a label had built a business on and then walked away from, to try and save other people from what she was going through. That's who Mary Wells was. And in the summer of 1992, the cancer came back. She was rushed to the Kenneth Norris Jr. Cancer Hospital in Los Angeles with pneumonia. The treatments hadn't worked. Her immune system had nothing left. On July 26, 1992, Mary Wells died. She was 49 years old. Forest Lawn Memorial Park, Glendale, California. It's a beautiful place, in the way that only California cemeteries manage to be. White marble, manicured lawns, the kind of institution where old Hollywood puts its legends. Sam Cooke was buried nearby. In a few years, Michael Jackson would be too. And here, at 49, they were burying the woman who gave Motown its first #1 record. Smokey Robinson gave the eulogy. Then he sang the songs he'd written for her, the ones that had made both of them famous. According to Peter Benjaminson's biography and confirmed in multiple contemporaneous accounts, that funeral was described as the last big gathering of the original Motown family, the people who'd been there at the beginning, the ones who knew what she'd built and what had been taken from her. Little Richard was there, and Little Richard, who was never in his life accused of subtlety, stood at that podium and made his feelings known. He didn't accuse anyone by name. He didn't have to. According to the New World's profile of Wells, he castigated the people responsible for her circumstances in, their words, barely couched terms. Everyone in that room understood exactly who he was talking about. Berry Gordy was also there, the man who'd discovered her, the man she'd fought, the man she'd claimed owed her $10 million until the day she died. He sat in that room and listened while Little Richard made clear what the community thought. Gordy did pay for the funeral. That's on record. But you have to understand the shape of that gesture. This is a man whose company, the company Mary Wells helped build with her voice and her catalog, was sold to MCA Records in 1988 for $61 million. And the woman who gave it its first commercial breakthrough couldn't afford her own cancer treatment. He paid for the funeral. Yes, he did. And I'll let you sit with what that means. Mary Wells was cremated. Her ashes were interred at Forest Lawn, not far from Sam Cooke, another artist whose death was tangled with exploitation and loss and an industry that ate its own. It's either poetic or devastating that they ended up neighbors. Maybe it's both. After the funeral, Smokey Robinson, who had written her biggest hits, who had spoken her eulogy, who had sung over her casket, went home. And my guy kept playing. On the radio, in films, in supermarkets, at weddings. It never stopped earning. Here's the thing I need you to understand before we close this story. Mary Wells didn't make foolish decisions. She made logical decisions at the worst possible moments. She signed a contract at 17 because a man with a record label told her to. That was normal. That was standard practice for young black artists in 1960. There was no handbook. There was no union. There was nobody in that room saying, wait, read this carefully. Wait, get a lawyer. Wait, understand what you're giving up. She left Motown at 21 because she was furious and she felt cheated and she thought the grass was greener. She turned down 50% of the company because at 21 years old, no one can fully comprehend what 50% of a company like that will one day be worth. And she signed away her royalties in the settlement because she was sick, literally sick with tuberculosis again at that point. And she was young and angry and she wanted out. Every single decision that destroyed her financial life was made by a girl who was either a minor or barely an adult, operating without proper legal or financial protection in an industry that was specifically designed to profit from that lack of protection. That's not a Mary Wells story. That's a music industry story. And it's still happening. Every time you stream a song from an artist who signed their first deal at 16 or 17, ask yourself, how much of that is going to them? Every time you watch an I'm Broke and I Made All Those Hits documentary, and there have been a lot of them, ask yourself why we keep being surprised. Mary Wells was nominated for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1987. She was not inducted. She was later inducted into the National Rhythm and Blues Hall of Fame, an honor she deserved. Her song My Guy was added to the Grammy Hall of Fame in 1999, 7 years after she died. The song got in. Eventually, the woman who sang it died selling her house. And somewhere, right now, in a film, in a commercial, in someone's wedding playlist, that finger snap opens up. That voice comes in. Warm, knowing, forgiving. Mary Wells, who built the house, who never got to live in it. If this story stayed with you, if you found yourself getting angry somewhere in the middle of it, that anger is correct. Don't let it go. Because the next time you hear My Guy, I want you to hear her name attached to it. Not just the song. There's one more thing I want to leave you with. In 1991, just months before she died, Mary Wells went to Washington, D.C. She sat in front of Congress. She could barely speak. And she whispered to lawmakers about cancer funding, about why it mattered, about keeping faith. Nobody famous does that when they are winning. You do that when you've decided that if your story has to end this way, at least it means something for somebody else. That's who she was underneath the hit records and the contracts and the lawsuits. A girl from Detroit who fought for her music, for her money, for her dignity, and eventually for other people's lives, with every tool she had left. Berry Gordy built Motown, but Mary Wells launched it, and the industry has spent 60 years making sure most people don't know the difference. Now you do. If you want to go deeper on the Motown stories that didn't make the highlight reel, the artists who built the sound and got left behind, subscribe. There are more names, more stories, and every single one of them deserves to be told the way Mary Wells deserved to be remembered. Not as a footnote, not as a trivia answer, as the woman who knocked the Beatles off the American charts with a finger snap and a voice that never stopped earning, long after the industry stopped caring whether she ate. Her name was Mary Wells. Remember it.